One of the benefits of the new MacDon R1 Series Disc Mower is that it features a unique cutter bar design which allows the disc rotation pattern to be fully customized to suit both normal and abnormal crop cutting conditions. MacDon disc mowers are factory configured with the best disc rotation pattern for optimal performance in the widest range of cutting conditions. However, if your crop conditions are either extremely light or extremely heavy, then it might be possible to further optimize cutter bar performance by reconfiguring the disc rotation pattern. Alterations to the disc rotation pattern should not be undertaken unless there is a significant amount of either extremely light or extremely heavy crop. There are 4 possible disc rotation patterns on the R1 Series Disc Mower, with the most commonly used patterns being either the 1 or 3 crop stream configurations. In pattern 1, all of the discs rotate inward towards the center of the unit. In this configuration, there is only 1 crop stream exiting the cutter bar, which offers optimum performance in light crop conditions. In pattern 2, the outer discs rotate inward, while the center 2 discs counter-rotate. This is a 2 crop stream configuration that might offer slightly improved performance versus configuration 1. In pattern 3, which is the factory configuration, the outer 2 discs on a 13-foot or the outer 3 discs on a 16-foot rotate inward, while the remaining discs all counter-rotate. This is a 3 crop stream configuration that typically works well in heavy cutting conditions. In pattern 4, all of the discs on a 13-foot counter-rotate, while on the 16-foot, the outer 2 discs rotate inward and the remaining discs counter-rotate. This 4 crop stream is a consideration if cutting the heaviest of crops. There are an even number of clockwise and counterclockwise oriented cutting assemblies used on the cutter bar. The 13-foot has 4 of each, while the 16-foot has 5 of each assembly. On the bottom of the hub, you can see how the gear is offset to the mounting ring. This allows the gear to contact the opposite idler gear for a different rotation pattern. It is important to ensure that each hub is always set to rotate in the same direction regardless of where it is installed on the cutter bed. When we look at the 2 assemblies, the one on the right-hand side is a clockwise rotation assembly and is identified by being smooth on the top of the shaft and the nut. On the left-hand hub assembly, notice the machined ring on the top of the shaft and the nut. Based upon this, we know that this is a counterclockwise rotating assembly. It is important to keep the nut and the hub both of the same orientation because the nut will rotate up on the threads when the shear pin is sheared. This allows the cutting blades to clear each other in the event of shear pin breakage. Only one person should work on the cutter bed at a time to avoid unexpected movement of the rotating parts. The disc mower should have the cutter bar raised off the ground and the header angle tilted to the flattest guard angle. Engage both safety stop valves to avoid injury. Shut off the engine. It is advised that the cutter bar be as clean as possible to avoid any contamination of the cutter bar oil. Factory configured R1 Series mowers have 3 crop streams. To avoid confusion, it might be helpful to label the crop streams. Label the rotation pattern on each disc. Remove the disc. If installed, the flange, or spacer ring, should be removed. Label the rotation pattern of the inner drive hub. You will need to move both the drive hub and the disc to the new position on the cutter bed. Caution should be used at all times when removing the drive hub. Align the 2 cutouts in the hub with the center line of the cutter bed before removing the hub. You might require a small pry bar to break the seal, allowing the drive hub to be removed from the cutter bed. Ensure that the O-ring remains with the drive hub and that it doesn't remain on the cutter bed. Carefully switch the drive hub to its new location, using caution not to contaminate the cutter bed oil. This clockwise rotating hub will continue to be clockwise rotating in its new location. It is a good idea to do a temporary install of the disc to check for proper balance and alignment before installing all the bolts on the housing. Now we rotate the disc to verify the correct timing. Timing is correct when the disc is 90 degrees to both adjacent discs. If a disc is out of time, half a tooth, then we would correct by lifting the hub and rotate the spindle 180 degrees to pick up on a different tooth. This will allow us a half tooth adjustment. Be careful not to rotate the base and only rotate the spindle 180 degrees. Ensure that the disc is at 90 degrees to the adjacent disc. Reinstall all hardware onto the drive hub in its new location. Tighten all hardware and torque the drive spindle hub bolts to 37 foot-pounds or 50 newtons. Install the disc and torque the disc bolts to 63 foot-pounds or 85 newtons. You can now check your disc rotation pattern, and each crop stream can be marked to ensure that you have achieved your desired rotation pattern. MacDon R1 Series Disc Mowers are factory configured to a 3 crop stream configuration, which is the best overall disc rotating pattern in the widest variety of crop conditions. The ability to customize the disc rotating pattern allows MacDon customers greater flexibility for extreme drought conditions or if operating in heavily irrigated, high-volume crops. If you have further questions about your MacDon R1 Series Disc Mower or about customizing your mower for your crop conditions, then please contact your nearest MacDon dealer or contact MacDon Product Support for further information.